Was there a cover-up over the deaths of thousands of people treated with contaminated blood products on the NHS? An inquiry's opened into the deaths of at least 2,400 people after they were given blood products infected with hepatitis viruses and HIV.
Now, this is a case that involves many people who had medical treatment here in the Northwest in the 1970s and 80s. At the hearing for us today was Kevin Ashford.
For many people here, this is a day they thought would never come. The start of an inquiry into the treatment of thousands of people during the 1970s and 1980s who were given infected blood products that were infected with viruses such as hepatitis and HIV. More than 2,400 people died as a result in what was described as the worst treatment disaster in the history of the NHS. Now, many of the families of those who've died travelled here for the start of the inquiry in the building behind me. Among them, Sandra Molyneaux from St Helens. Her husband Alan died in 1985. Obviously, since then, she's had so many worries, including wondering whether she'd been infected too. Luckily, she hadn't. And since then, in the decades that followed, there's been the frustration of trying to find out why and what happened.
I've been coming here campaigning for many, many years. From 1985 I've been campaigning, and it's still, we're no further on. But it's a good thing we've got the inquiry, I will say that, but action needs to be done, and sooner than later.
Today has obviously been a very emotional one for those involved, and in fact before the inquiry started a service was held to remember those who died. The scale of this inquiry is huge. It's one of the biggest in this country's history, and those representing the families involved say it's the start of the process of finding out some answers.
A number of these victims have lived with these issues for 30 or 40 years. It's gone through generations. This is an opportunity for the present generation to pay respect to the last generation and fulfill an obligation to the next generation. That's how they see it. It's payment of a debt and fulfillment of an obligation, and they are quite determined to see it through.
In his opening remarks, the chairman of the inquiry, Sir Brian Langstaff, said he would be putting people at the very heart of the proceedings. He said he would also be investigating any suggestion of a cover-up. He also warned that there may be many thousands more people across the country unaware that they were infected during the 1970s and 1980s. This is an inquiry that may yet still grow in its scale.